I got it.
You know, I just want to say, before you did all of this, you were just once a young person that I met randomly on my own panel, and now it's been years. This is my 5th year directing all of this stuff, and I just want to say thank you all for coming out to these panels. It really means a lot to me, and also my friend here, who I met so many years ago. And I hope y'all see you around.
You're all going up now. We stand.
The mask comes off.
Oh, there you are, yeah.
Wow, it's a voice.
Exactly.
It's okay, I was like enjoying dinner too, and then I was like, ooh, 30 minutes to the panel. Ooh, I gotta like be in a dome.
Your eyes become really expressive.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Interacting with Furries. This is gonna be like a continuation of the Furry 101 panel that was at 4. This is mostly like interacting and talking to us and any Q&As or stuff like that for the most part. So now, since we have time, dude, we have time.
This is primarily your panel, so go for it.
All of us are going to, up here, we're going to introduce ourselves and the reason why we're up here. If you don't know why you're up here, just ask me and I'll tell you. Alright, starting with you.
Caro. Hi. Hey everyone, I hosted the Furry 101 panel that was at 4 p.m. today. I never actually got to formally introduce myself. My name is Caro, that's C-A-R-O. What do you want me to say?
I don't know. Why would you ask?
Sure. Okay, so I'm 24 years old. I've been in this fandom or community for 13 years now, and I've been to way too many cons. This is like my 35th con ever, so I spend a lot of money on these things.
Hi everyone. You might or may not know me. I am Onyx Universe. I'm a bear. Yes, I'm not an otter. Please don't call me that. Okay. Besides you, apparently. I've been in the fandom for since I was like 13. I'm 18 now. And
Dang, you are young.
wow,
I thought you
you
were like 20 or something.
No, I'm just mature.
That's sure. We'll say
You gotta
that.
say mature. Is that barriers?
Yeah. I mean, look at my own and all that stuff, the creepy stuff. I don't like it. Anyway. I'm basically the host of this panel, which is why I'm up here.
I am Bo, or Jack, whatever you want to call me. I've been a furry for like 6-ish years, and yeah, she kind of just asked me to. Sorry, very big. He asked me to just do this, so I'm doing it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Hunter. I'm 19. I'm not a furry, but I was asked to be here. I stole, these are actually Jack's paws, and I completely stole them. They're really comfy, and I've been getting cold, so.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I'm 19, and I'm also not a furry, and I don't really know anything about furries except for like the weird sex stuff online.
Were you at my panel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you told me at the panel, but like.
So,
You at my panel?
question mark? So the reason why I have 2 people who, one not furries and one person who started off having no idea what it was before the panel earlier, is because if you guys ask questions, you are welcome to ask questions, even if you have nothing, like have no knowledge of the fandom, or if you want to like relate to someone who like also doesn't have any knowledge. So it's fair. And that's pretty much it. We're gonna start the Q&A now. Any questions at all? Right there.
Okay, first question. How do you explain to your parents what a furry is?
Well, one, take your parents to our panel. That's one way. Or you can do the research yourself. What? You take it. You take it.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't actually talk with microphones because my voice projects really well anyways. So the thing about it is, it's the same thing as having interest in like just general anime or any other fandom that you're in. You don't have to go to your parents and be like, so Dad, Mom, there's this thing, it's called furries, we dress up as animals. No. Just beat them, just tell them straight up that you are a fan of anthropomorphic animals, which are animals with human-like characteristics. They'll ask, what do you mean by that? Well, you like to indulge in art of these anthropomorphics, you like going to conventions where people who have the same interests as you go to meet other furries too. You may be interested in getting a costume for yourself, whatever the case. But just be straight up and honest with them and help guide their learning of this community. A lot of the times people probably have some predisposed notion of what furries are because media in general has just been really good at pushing this whole massive sex thing, massive sex stereotype. And so you can easily dispel that by talking with them very honestly and truthfully and say, yeah, it exists, but it's an extremely small part of this community. This community is first and foremost a group of people who come together because they have the same similar interest in something. They're extremely charitable people who have very wide backgrounds and do a lot of different things in terms of like jobs and such. So when you talk to your parents about this, pretty much talk to them just like you're in any other fandom. It's not anything weird, it's just slightly different. But it still achieves the same thing where you're finding happiness and joy from interacting with the people in this fantastic community.
My biggest piece of advice for when telling your parents about being a furry is that you do it with confidence because it's really not weird. You just gotta like let them know that it's something that you're interested in.
Dressing up in a different way.
Exactly. And if you do it with confidence, like if you walk up to your parents and you're like, oh, hey, I have something to tell you. I do this thing and I'm a furry. They're gonna be like, okay, what's a furry? Like, why are you acting so scared? Like, you walk up to your parents and you're like, hey, I'm a furry. Like, you gotta be forward and confident about it.
Sorry, I have paused, it's really hard. Let's see, personal example, how my mother found out, or how I told my mom, I didn't. I just kind of started, like interacting with, like, the local furs around here, and mom would be like, where are you going to, oh, I'm going to hang out with this dude, and my mom would be like, where are you going? Oh, just meet a couple of people, like, to do this. And eventually, she found out what it was and looked it up herself. But she didn't care because she realized that it made me, oh yes, thank you. She realized that it made me happy, so she didn't really bother. So hopefully, if your parents like you to be happy, then they'll just let you do what you do. Any other questions?
I think you can ask literally anything. If you weren't here for the panel, which is totally understandable because it's at a terrible time, if you have any questions about it, what's up?
Oh.
How much do your suits cost?
Oh.
So suits can vary from anywhere between just like basic partials, like what Max the Fox here has. It's just a head and hand paws for him and a tail. But you can also get a full side costume like this suitor all the way over here. Yeah, just wave high. And these suits can range anywhere from like a few $100s for the partial all the way up to multiple thousands. Most of the good suits usually range fall in the ballpark of $3,000 to $4,000, but it's not unheard of to see suits go for $6,000. And there are some really, really, really popular suits and commissions that can sell for upwards of $14,000, $15,000, $16,000, $17,000. So yeah. K-line is like $6,000, $7,000, I think.
Mind you, I have a suit, and I'm in college. Well, not really, not anymore.
Yeah,
but I'm going back.
Please don't be dumb. If you have bills to pay, a fursuit will not pay the bill.
Yeah, seriously, don't do that.
If you'd like to pay my tuition, I was thinking of
I just got lucky. What am I standing for?
No, I'll stand.
Oh, good, because I'm lazy. I'm a bear. What do you want me to do?
Lay there.
Any other any other questions? You over there?
How do you keep cool in the suit, especially in like?
You don't. Yeah, straight up. Like you don't. Like you can. You take breaks, drink water, make sure that you cool off every now and then, just so you don't die. But I have been in this suit while I was in Florida on a boardwalk in the middle of the summer, and I was perfectly fine. What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing? I thought you were
Just asleep.
touching me.
Yeah, it was amazing. Anyways,
I was like,
shook.
thanks? Question mark. But yeah, you honestly, it's hard. It's
Do you
hard.
have
But
a fan in yours?
I do not.
Some suits do have fans in there, like built into their heads, and you can probably hear it if you like go up and give them a hug. You can hear the little fan like whirring in their head, and
Follow-up
it's pretty.
question.
Yep.
Do you take like advice from like professional mascots and stuff who have like ice packs within their suits?
No, I take advice from other furries who've done it longer than me.
Fair choice.
I do know a couple of furries who use ice packs, though. That is definitely something that I have heard of and is a method. So
The only thing about that is, once the PCM, the phase change material, melts and gets all warm, you're basically wearing a warm vest at that point, and so you have to ditch the vest and then recharge the packs. So if you're out shooting for more than like 2 hours at a time, the ice pack usually isn't all that good anymore, and that's why most suitors nowadays don't actually use them. They usually have just camelbacks, like the portable backpack outdoor water bag thing that you have on your back. That thing, yeah.
Water bag
Has a
thing.
straw that goes out and you can drink it in suit. I don't recommend drinking it in suit because if you run into somebody who gives you a really tight hug, they're going to squeeze that camel bag, and all that water is going to go into your mouth, and you're going to drown on land. So yeah, be careful.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah, I've done it to lamb.
Oh no, no. Any other questions? I know it's the events. Yep. Right to it.
Yeah, how does sizing for suits work? I've been curious about how that, like, do you have to get it tailored for you, or do you have to...
I just did this because
Yeah,
I
you
am about to get a fursuit.
Anybody, Jack?
Hey, dude.
Do it, Bojack.
Okay. So there is this thing called a duct tape dummy, and essentially what you do is you go buy a painter suit, which is like, you know, just a big white, like, covers your whole body so you don't get paint on it whenever you're painting.
You mean me? I'm big and white.
Your painter suit. Okay, so you do that. You buy this painter suit, and you basically just duct tape your entire body, except your head, all the way, like neck, all the way down to your wrists, all the way down to your ankles. Okay. So what you do is you commission a fursuit maker. Whenever you do that, you make this duct tape dummy, and you send it off to them. You wrap this duct tape around your body, you cut it off. It's a very tight fit, and it all stays in place and holds the shape of your body. But it's also foldable, and you can put it in a mailbox and send it off. And when it gets to where it needs to go, they can stuff it with something, and it will be an exact replica of your body.
Where do you cut it, like down the back?
You cut it up the sleeves, on the side of your wrist, and over the shoulder, up to your neck.
Okay.
And then down the front. There are loads of tutorials for this online.
Mhm.
And usually if you ask a fursuit maker, they'll have a preferred tutorial to go to. I think I've seen like 8 different tutorials online. So yeah, makers have their different preferences for how they want you to do the duct tape dummy. Some of them want you to indicate like elbows, kneecaps, tail hole, belt, and write your name right here or something like that. So it's awesome for the maker.
And also, you will need help from friends. He personally helped me when I was in that part of the process of making this boy right here, and because you can't cut yourself out when you're T-posing in duct tape.
Oh, you have to hold up brooms because you got to be like in a T-pose the whole time. It's
Oh, yeah, you have to
actually a
stay
really
in one
arduous
position.
process. It's kind of exhausting.
It's fine.
It's
the
exhausting.
But it's
easiest
fun.
thing to do for fursuiting. It's the
It's
easiest part.
I just like twerking. Hello? Yes?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you like to keep your furry identity separate from your personal life, or do you like to incorporate your furry personality into your everyday
Ooh, this is a good question for me. Oh my god. Okay. I find this ironic because I was just talking to my friend the other day. I have I recently got a job interview with this full-time job, right? And I was like, okay, if I'm going to do YouTube stuff and furry stuff, I would rather prefer to keep my I have furry friends that call me by my personal name, but I do prefer to keep it business, professional, separate from furry stuff, because I know people have this specific view that we've talked about, and I don't want that to affect my work, because if that affects my work and I lose my job, I can't even do furry stuff in the first place because I don't have money. So I prefer to keep it separate personally.
I have right now in my life kind of a different experience, but also I as far as social media and online image goes, very much the same rules apply as to personal online safety. Like, you keep your stuff private, you be careful what you post. But as far as like my friends and day-to-day life, I've tried to like start opening up more about it. Hunter here is my friend from home who like found out I'm a furry this summer, and I was like, we're going to MechaCon, and he was like, okay, whatever. It's really, as far as telling your friends, furries get it all like wound up in their heads that it's going to be some big deal. It's not. You just gotta tell them. They'll be like, oh, you little weirdos, so cute. Like, it's not bad. It's really nice, actually, especially once they know. Sometimes people even will take an interest.
There's this line that I like to tell everybody else who is having problems talking to like friends or finding a circle of friends who they can really depend on. There's this line of advice, and it goes something along the lines of, those who matter don't care, and those who care don't matter. So, find yourself a circle of friends who don't care, because they're the ones who really matter.
Yep.
So like, what is there to do with your fursuit outside of like cons and like OC fandom?
Fundraisers! You're basically a freelance mascotter. So I know furries who go and do ALS walks. There are furries who go volunteer for hospitals, raise awareness. Yeah, I said hospital work already. Pet store work. They just go gather attention
Tell
for it.
them how furries raise a lot.
Oh God, yeah. If you were at the panel, I would have told you that the furries as a whole in the fandom is an extremely charitable organization of people. And over all of the conventions that have happened, in which every single convention has donated money to charity, I think there have been somewhere along the lines of $2 to $3 million donated to various charities all around the world. So yeah, that's on top of other fundraisers. Like, there's this guy named Dogbon, Tony Barrett, who had ALS, and he didn't want to live with ALS. That was slowly degrading his body, really rapidly degrading his body actually. So he performed doctor-assisted suicide. And in his memory and honor, furries did a lot of fundraisers for ALS charities. And over the past 3 months or so, they've raised like $176,000 just for those charities. So yeah, if you want to know what you can do with furs and fursuits, you can raise money for really important, really special causes.
I told Sammy if he gets his turtle, he has to go to the children's hospital.
Yeah, go for it.
Entertain the children.
Maybe the children, or even an amusement park like even a reptile convention in Lafayette.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
How much longer do you want to do these questions? Because this is an interaction panel.
I mean,
so,
yeah. If anyone questions until they're out. Until they're out, and if anyone's like, I see that hand. Oh yeah, I see that hand.
Time for Fursuit games too.
Oh, that one. Oh, yes.
Hey, Handler 101. Best steps.
What?
Okay, so as a handler, you are, just like in cosplay and anime too, you are the cosplayer or suitor's eyes and ears. They cannot see pretty much anything in suit, because the vision, if you have like 160-degree vision or something, their vision is something more along the lines of like this, and there's probably like a missing spot in the middle because the eyes are just like really divergent. And so you have to be their eyes and ears. You have to tell them that there's like a step coming up, that there's a puddle so that they don't step in it or trip or fall. And you have to especially be careful of people who may not understand how to interact with other furries or with like these characters. Because you know how here at this con in particular, they're making a big push for non-harassment stuff. So if you see any harassment of any kind, you need to report it. Most of this harassment is targeted mostly from people who don't know how to interact with cosplayers. They go up to the cosplayers and think, oh my god, it's an animal thing, and then immediately go for like a hug or, I don't know, tackle them or something like that. And so this is really direct, full-on contact that nobody wants. And so people can get legit assaulted from this. So as a handler, you need to be aware of the surroundings of the fursuiter and make sure that no one is going to do that. Similarly, if these are like really expensive costumes, so if you see someone walking around with like a coffee or something, make sure you keep them away from the suitor or the costumer of any kind.
Especially white ones.
Yeah. You can clean them out, but it's just really painful.
It's a white fursuiter.
What's the rule for, some furries don't speak, and then some do?
You're breaking the magic right now. You should feel ashamed.
Actually, you do not have to not speak.
You really don't.
There are some people who have specific voices for their, like, talk like this, you know, that type of thing. I just talk normal because I'm just a dude. And there are some people who don't talk at all, and they're really, really dedicated to it. The reason why I talk personally and I decide to is because I like to be able to communicate. If I'm hot, I'm not gonna go up to my friend and be like, or like, you know, I want my friend to be able to understand. What is that? I couldn't see that. See, vision. I would want someone to know how I'm feeling, so I will tell them, like, straight up. Oh, really?
Yeah. Different, especially when you're interacting with the people. That's primarily where people make a distinction for if they're going to talk in suit or not. If you're talking to children, they don't see that you're a person in a costume interacting with them. They see a giant animal. And so you don't want to ruin the illusion. You don't want to break the magic. And so that's why a lot of suitors, especially if they're talking to people under the age of like 12 or so, they will never speak in suit. But for the most part, if you go to a FurCon and you see suitors, they'll talk in suit all the time because they're just friends. So yeah.
So I missed the one-on-one panel. What do you do, like take it to the dry cleaners? Like what's the situation?
Okay, so what I do is I like find my cave and then I find a bathtub. I just like jump in it. No. What I do is to clean my suit specifically. When I take off the bodysuit, I flip it inside out and I literally just put it in a washing machine. And then when it's done, I hang it up, air dry it. Don't put it in the dryer. Bad idea. Might melt.
It will melt. There's no might. It will melt.
Will melt.
It doesn't
Okay.
take long at all. It takes like maybe 5 minutes in your first melting. So don't put it ever in the dryer.
Yeah, to clean my like head and paws and feet, I would like sometimes just like clean it in like the bathtub and I hand wash it myself. And there's also like what are those things? Like the Bissell machines where you can like
There are like carpet cleaners, like
Yeah,
vacuum carpet cleaners that sprays some water detergent mix. You can kind of scrub it and then it will soak it away or like suck it away because of the vacuum. A lot of people have been using that for their fursuit heads because you can't really wash the fursuit heads because it's like a foam base. If you put the foam in water, that is more a surface for like mold, fungi, and stuff to grow. Usually, and pretty much always, the general rule of thumb is if you're at the convention, you can't wash your suit. So whenever you're done suiting, just for any cosplay too, people usually spray it down with some isopropyl alcohol, which is stuff you can get at Walgreens. And that is primarily to kill off the bacteria from inside, that's inside, that is feeding on all of your oil, dead cells, and skin, and basically sweat, and food for all that bacteria. So once you're done suiting and you're back at home, you can just yeet your crap right in the washing machine, let it run. Don't put your head in there because you'll probably ruin like fragile parts like the nose or the eyes in particular. But yeah.
So what did you say about Abyssal? Abyssal what?
Abyssal Little Green. It's a carpet cleaner, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm wearing a carpet, so. Oh, you're raising your hand? Yep.
I have no artistic talent whatsoever.
That's fine.
How do you design your persona? I mean,
Okay.
come up with the color schemes and.
It really depends on you. So personally, the one you're looking at right now is like a bunch of things. Like his white and gray is from like a dog that I used to own. The blue is because it's my favorite color. The gold is to represent like I'm a POC, so I think gold really looks good with my black complexion.
Personal color, for anyone who doesn't know what that means.
So that's why I have gold. But there are some people who like just see something and like people are like selling characters and like, oh, I like that character, my persona. Like it really depends on you, and you don't have to have like all of this artistic talent. You can kind of just throw something together, and hope you can find an artist that can like interpret that. Artists can do stuff off of description as well.
Alright, so this kind of relates to the last question, but like what do you do if you have like 20 ideas for a persona and you can't make up your mind on which one you want to be your persona?
Better start making some decisions.
Have 20 personas!
You have all of them. That is the answer.
Correct.
Don't actually do that though, because if you get like an artist to try and like draw a piece for you and you have like 17 wings at like this type of jointed angle and 5 horns going off in like Z formations or something because you can't settle on
No. Don't mix them together.
Put them on a wheel and spin
Separate
it.
versions of yourself.
Well, you like if you have a lot of different ways you want to express yourself, like obviously don't make any one singular one so complicated that if an artist tried to draw it, it would end badly. But like if you have 20 different personas that you want to have, like have all of them. There's not a limit to what your creativity can create. Don't inhibit yourself. If you have these ideas, develop them in your head. And then if you're tight on money, then that's the decision where you make, oh, am I going to invest in this one? Am I going to invest in this one? You know, it's not like, don't limit your creativity.
You don't have to have one persona. Some people have one, some people have 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 20.
Yeah, I have a good 3.
I have 3.
Yeah.
I have,
And multiple
I have a
OCs.
bunny, a cat and a dog.
I see that hand.
Or 4.
Yeah.
Max it out.
I have
6.
one question. It's about like art.
Okay.
Like, it's this art genre that like, it's mostly furry. It's like species. It's I had a friend who like draws species art.
Okay.
She owns the species, and the only way you can also draw the same species is you got a pair. Is that like a real thing? Yeah.
Wow.
I laugh at that. That's sad.
Interesting.
I can answer that real fast. I know this.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Carol do that.
In the fur community, because your creativity can run wild, there are some people who do make original species. However, it's extremely rare, and this is the first time I've ever heard this in my 13 years of being a furry, that someone's actually charging money to use like an original species. I think that's a little bit absurd because, sure, it's like intellectual property and stuff, but at that point, it's not an open or closed species. That's like completely paywalled species. There are some original species that you can get, like a skull dog, for example, like that suitor right there. That's a skull dog. That is technically an original species because someone had to come up with this. So yeah. That is more of an open species where you as a person don't have to contact the owner to get their permission to make a persona that is a skull dog.
I feel like
you
that's
can just make it.
Really a legal question for like somebody who's got a law degree, because I mean, I know I don't have that expertise.
You can make it paywalled, but you should really expect people to not really respect that paywalling. And probably just laugh at it and then take and make a persona in that species. Anyways, you might have touched the lights. Please turn it back on. Thank you.
Yeah, like I'm not even a normal bear. I'm actually a bear from space. My name is Anu.
You're still a bear.
But I'm from space. And so my species is like a space bear. But like I'm not gonna say, oh, you have to pay me to have a space like that. No. Okay. Most people don't really respect that type of stuff, and it's because it's like Kara explains, a little absurd.
The fur community itself is just like a community of people who really help support each other, and so to paywall something like a species is just really outlandish, honestly. It's not the first time. I'm sure other people have done it too, but I've never heard of them doing that before. That's probably because they don't really exist, because people see that this is a little bit absurd. So. I mean, all power to your friend who has the paywalled species. I don't really think they'll make any money from it, but that's their call, so.
Okay. Question?
You got some?
Okay, this is gonna sound really stupid.
There are no stupid questions.
Yeah.
Why do so many like personas and like furry art just kind of look like dogs?
Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, let me answer that for you from someone who's an artist. That's because when we first start off, we always draw canines.
Not always.
No, seriously, most of the time.
Most of the time.
Even with fursuits, like before I got this one, like, guys, do I look like a bear?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, well, oops.
You look
anyway.
like a feline of some kind.
No. Well, see, the thing is, with my first fursuit that I had, most people said I looked like an otter, which I hated. I know where you live. But yeah, people would, and it was kind of irritating. I didn't really feel like a bear. It didn't feel like a bear to me. And so there are times when people will like have like characters or like draw stuff that it just seems more canine-like or more something else-like rather than what it actually is. So.
Honestly, the biggest answer to that is most artists just draw canines because they are such a transferable species. They have the same general anatomy as like many felines and foxes, wolves, dogs. They all have the same anatomy pretty much because they're all basically canids, not canines, but canids. And so an artist who's drawing these things, you may just change up the nose, but you still have the same muzzle shape and ears, so it's no big deal to make the same species look the same. There's actually a lot of memes about that too.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. It's such
about how dogs and every other species all look the damn same. So yeah.
What was the other question?
Okay, I was gonna ask, can someone explain like furry Twitter?
Oh no, we're not explaining furry Twitter.
Okay, so
it's a hellhole. Well, what do you want me to what do you want explained about it
Because
exactly?
you just asked to explain like an entire social media platform.
Yeah. Okay, so as for it really depends on who you talk to, and oh my God, it's my brother in the back. Hey. Anyway. So it really depends on who you talk to, who you follow, who you let follow you. I personally try to stay out of a lot of drama because I don't know. Like, no, I don't want to be bothered with I don't want to wake up and have a bunch of tweets about, oh, this person's doing this and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it can be toxic, but if you avoid the right people and then stay around the right people, then you'll have a pretty good experience.
I'll explain it this way too. Furry Twitter is a mix of a lot of fursuit pictures, a lot of lewd fursuit pictures, a lot of people just enjoying their life like every other furry out there. But every now and again there are little bouts of drama, and in these cases someone may post something that is really controversial and everyone just immediately calls them out on it. And those people who get called out and posted the really controversial thing sometimes double down, sometimes retract what they say and apologize. But yeah, whenever you hear furries talk about Twitter, they usually talk about it with Twitter, because they're usually too exposed to this drama. But honestly, the drama that happens on Twitter is really rare in comparison to all of the other things that happen on Twitter, i.e. networking, bonding, and fursuit pictures.
Now, the thing that for somebody who is not a member of the fandom or who hasn't really looked at it a lot, for you guys to know is that essentially Twitter is kind of like the new Tumblr for furries.
Yeah.
So that's where you're gonna find most of the art for, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Twitter's anyway. Y'all get it.
Yeah, and then honestly, here's the way I look at it. If it's something that you don't have to get involved in and you don't have to say, you're alright.
Are y'all from Louisiana-ish?
I'm in space.
Okay. Do we have a Louisiana furry?
Yes, we do. Telegram.
Telegram is a messaging app, and furries are all over Telegram. Every single fur, I guess, group in various states and various cities even have their own chat specifically for their meetups and just general chatting.
I seen a hand in this area.
By the way, yeah, if you want to join the Louisiana Furs Telegram chats, including the events channels where all of the meetups and stuff are posted in, just stick around here. I'll help get you in it and all that.
Man, we can.
Even though I have a fursuit on, I can see still how beautiful you are.
Y'all in the Discord?
Yeah, we have Discord too, but it's not very big. It's maybe 15 people.
Probably a good idea for you to keep chatting.
I don't believe in Discord, so sorry, friend.
Rachel.
I have Discord.
I plan on one day to Las Vegas if I have enough money to make my own fursuit. That being said, would it be cheaper to make your own?
Yeah. You back there, get up here right now. Yellow, orange, Max, get up here. He is a person maker, so I'm gonna let him answer this question. Come on, brother.
Round of applause.
Come on, brother.
Round of applause.
All right, get up. Go.
Get banned.
Peace out.
I thought it was great.
Would it be cheaper to make your own fursuit instead of paying someone else?
Yes.
That's a really short answer.
If you do it yourself, all you have to do is buy the materials and the time and stuff. But you pay somebody else, you're paying for their time as well as the material.
A lot of the cost is labor if you're paying somebody else too.
The thing about that too, though.
Hold on, wait, I'm not done.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so a typical fursuit can cost about $2,000. About a quarter of that is only going towards materials. The rest of it is going towards the time.
But the thing about that is too, if you make your own suit, you're gonna have to deal with all of your errors. So your costs may actually end up becoming more than how much it would be if you were to just like commission the suit. Yeah, but there are lots of tutorials online, and if you're interested in this more, there's another panel tomorrow hosted by Folklore, who's another Louisiana furry. And that panel is specifically about fursuits, fursuiting, tips and tricks on construction and all of that, different materials. So if you want to learn about the costume making, I highly recommend you go to that panel. Max, what you got?
Well, about making your own fursuit, I couldn't afford to commission one, so I made mine, but if I would have sculpted it on my own, it would look horrible. So one thing I recommend, if you want to make your fursuit and you want to try to get it cheap but you don't have experience, you do what I did. I bought a pre-made foam base off of Etsy and I carved it out and furred it myself. So it'll still save you money. I mean, this base is only like $100, so it's only like $100 extra and it's totally worth the money.
That's $100.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I saw another one. There you are.
Okay, this is a follow-up question to the Twitter question.
Oh gosh.
So, furries have drama, question mark?
Oh. No, there's no drama at all.
The short answer is yes, the long answer is not really.
Okay, the long answer is
it depends on your perspective. I'm more of an optimistic person in general, and so I see that the community just is a bunch of friends who come and hang out, have a good time together, see friends again. So if you're more inclined to look for the negative things, you're going to find the negative things. So if you're looking for drama, you'll find drama. It's hilarious sometimes. But for the most part, it's not a very big thing.
Okay, long answer short, the furry fandom is mostly an online-based community. I mean, it's really not hard to see that. And, you know, with an online community comes something that is very common in every bit of the online trolls. So, like, you know, when dealing with trolls in the furry fandom, it's just like, oh, drama. It's something that happens. Most people are above it, but a lot of people aren't, and as a result, you know, it starts trending on your Twitter, and it's annoying. Anyway. Any other questions?
I do. I have a question. I have no idea what's furry fandom. No, I'm joking.
What is?
My question is, are pizza rolls technically sauce pillows? Bye. Are pizza rolls sauce pillows? Like, I've been thinking about this for the past month, okay?
Okay, but if the pizza roll has meat in it, would you still
Meat sauce pillows.
Okay.
Why did I agree to help you run this panel?
Because you love me.
But also there's cheese in pizza rolls.
The cheese sauce pillows.
Cheesy sauce pillows. I think that's okay.
Y'all do not eat that pizza.
Cheesy sauce meat pillows. Question? We have a question?
Well, no, it's a response to that.
Response?
Cheesy sauce pillows?
So if you're saying like, sometimes you call it a memory foam pillow, because it's what's on the inside.
Yeah.
So technically, yes, you're right, but also no, you're not.
Okay, any questions pertaining to...
Yeah, that's very, I'm sorry. My bad.
No? Okay, any more? Hey, right
Yeah,
here.
do we have any? Oh.
Right here.
Right, there you go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
First, I can hardly see out of my right eye, so would it be okay for me to have hair that covers that eye?
Always. Always.
Yeah.
Your creativity will let you do whatever you want. I know
Like-
fursuiters who are blind and still fursuit.
There are fursuiters that are deaf.
Yeah.
True.
There was an, oh, wait, oh, you're done?
She had her 2 questions.
Oh, okay, yeah, another one.
Is there any specific age that you should actually get your first suit, since people still grow after 18 or
Well, it really just depends on your situation. If you think you can afford, I mean, obviously if you're still growing, get it a bit big. You can tell them that. They can make it big. It's a custom made piece of I want to say clothing, but it's like full cotton.
Dude, this has a zipper on it, so it's like jackets, it's clothing.
So like, yeah, this is just a jacket, a really big jacket. But like, you know, buy it big if you're still growing.
Wait, are we wearing Gucci furry jackets? Sorry.
Getting fursuits, depending on design, are also like tailor fitting. So you can get like expansions on certain areas if you happen to grow a lot taller or if you grow wider or something like that. If your pattern on your suit is simple enough, you can easily make alterations to it. But if your costume is really complex, you're gonna have to work around all those complex markings too, and that's probably not gonna become very worth it. So.
Yeah, but children don't.
Yeah. But the answer is yes, of course. If you want to, you can get a fursuit at the age of like 12. I have seen really young fursuiters who are like 10 years old.
And another thing is, I would say is, I personally waited, one, until I had the money, two, until I was like 17, because that's when I first got mine. The reason why I waited was what?
You're so young. I was like 22 when I got my first one.
How old are you?
24.
I was 24. I thought you were like 17. Wow. Ha! No. If he's like almost a PhD student, why would he be 17?
Oh, I forgot we said that.
But yeah, I waited because of that. Also, another thing is a lot of commissioners won't allow you to even get a suit until you're 18 because of that specific thing, like with growing and stuff. And also, people have had problems where kids will steal their parents' credit cards to like get suits and stuff. So it's like,
what?
Yeah, it's a oof. So I would definitely wait till you're 18 and you can use your own money.
Long story short, don't use your parents' credit card.
That also best to wait till you're
Use
18.
your sugar daddy's credit card.
No, I mean, hey, actually, technically yes, but no. Yes.
She's great. She's hanging out with her all day.
Hold on, guys.
I was thinking about neck wrangling switches to the side.
Okay.
Would that be okay for a fursuit?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just be aware that because you're in a costume, your movement, visibility, all your senses are really limited.
Yeah.
So if you have like, I don't know, a seizure or something in suit, someone's probably not going to recognize that's a seizure. So yeah, have a handler with you who can like help you out. If you're like not really certain on your abilities going out in public or something on your own, definitely have a handler with you. This applies not just to furries, but anybody who cosplays in general too.
I forget that. Oh, they can hear me now.
Yeah, stop talking into the microphone. Anyway, stop questions. What's up? What's up?
Okay, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you have a fursona without a fursuit?
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Of course you can.
Okay, you guys like I don't have my fursuit yet. It's in the making right now. Like, yes. Okay.
Is that my phone?
You absolutely do not need to have a fursuit to be a furry.
That is such
you
an
just need to
aggressive
have
yes.
an interest in anthropomorphic animals.
Don't mind my phone, please.
It's a good one. You want me to answer it?
I know, it's my favorite one. It's the one with the bears that are like dancing and they're like doing it.
Okay, Pikachu.
It's for like the maker guy. How do you like construct your heads and what kind of foam do you use and where do you get it and how do you mold it?
Okay.
The real questions, okay.
There's a store, you heard about it before, called Joann's Fabrics.
Hell yes.
They have amazing coupons, 40% off, 60% off. Ooh, baby.
You can use the Hobby Lobby 40% off at Joann's. They don't tell you that, but you can use that on top of it.
Yeah. You can like switch up your coupons and stuff. It's really nice. Then you go in the area, I use the green upholstery foam. I set up for a lap bench to make the base, and then I add the muscle and the cheeks and the eyes and stuff, and then yeah.
Do you put it like on like a solid base first, or you just work with the foam?
I don't know, but I put it on like a bucket base. It's not an extra plastic bucket. The bucket is made from foam. So you make a foam bucket and then you put it on it.
They're called bucket head style suits. You take upholstery foam, which is in long sheets, and then wrap it around, and then kind of glue or somehow staple them together. And then so you have like a roundish cylinder around your head. Think of like Marshmallow, like the performer guy, the DJ. That head thing is like what fursuits sometimes start with. A lot of other suits can be made out of like resin bases where they're molded like plastic or resin or something like that. There are some heads that are 3D printed. They look really, really good, by the way.
Yes.
Holy moly. 3D printed heads are fantastic.
Yes.
But the most fursuit heads are made out of foam as a base. You can just add on lots of foam and then carve it down to the shape that you want.
Yes.
And then add on the fur, glue it, sew it, whatever. If you're interested in more fursuit construction stuff, there's a panel tomorrow about that specifically. Highly recommend you go to that if you're even remotely interested.
Where at?
I don't know. It's just called Furry 102 with folklore or something like that. I don't know what room it's in. It's on your schedule. It's Saturday at like 2 p.m.
Pale room 4, golden 1 at
This room.
2 p.m.
Cool. Saturday, 2 p.m. This room right here for Fursuit.
Who's the question? More questions?
In my ball.
Any other questions?
Oh, what's your question?
Me, hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Hi. So pretty much, yeah, okay, so we know how, to make sure the suit is fitted for your body.
Yeah.
What about the head? How do you make sure that's not like too big or too small for your head?
Okay, so what you do is you measure your head. You measure your head, so then you're making a little X for your head measurements, and then you send them your head. Usually from around the circumference, and then from like around the face. And sometimes it's like how far apart your eyes are too, but I don't go that deep.
Usually your head, if it's, for the most part, if you make a fursuit head that's about 24 inches in circumference, it's fine for everyone.
Yeah.
But I have a much larger head, so when I got one of my fursuit heads, it was really tight, so I just kind of cut it down the back and then added more fur and expanded it, so it's fine. You got a question?
So I understand that usually in fursuits it is very hot. On like a scale of the temperature of this room to the surface of the sun,
Okay, well, let me step to the side real quick.
Ooh, seriousness.
So, let me tell you something. One, I'm a bear. Two, I have thick legs, so I have padding on top of this. Wow, thank you. You didn't have permission to touch me for wait. No, I'm joking. No, so, but yet and still, as someone who's used to fursuiting, yeah, I'm fine. But once I take this off, I'm gonna be so happy.
In terms of temperature, like exact temperature, because your head is the main avenue where heat from your body escapes, you're trapping that in under like this much foam and fur, so it's really insulating, and so the actual temperature inside could be maybe around like 90 to 100 degrees. But that's constant, really contained air where you're like recirculating your air. So a lot of fursuiters breathe out through their mouth so that it shoots out through their actual fursuit mouth so they don't have to recycle that air inside.
Yo, what's up, man?
Hey! Is your mouth upside down?
Been in the community for a while. Have you ever seen someone do ventilation through the ears?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I've also seen fursuits where like the bodysuit has a open pit in the armpit that allows like airflow through there. So yeah. Yeah, the guy's an engineer. He makes some really damn good suits. His name is BN Creations. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There was another question over here somewhere, I think. On my right? No? Okay. Axiom, is that a question? What?
Can you please tell Onyx not to kill me?
Onyx, don't kill Axiom. Sit down. Anyways, any other questions? No. Onyx, you kill him. No.
Attention, since you guys are like the expert on animal suits, I want everyone to know that if you find a Chuck E. Cheese costume for sale, please direct it my way because I really want one.
Got you failed.
We're actually legally required to destroy them after Chuck E. Cheese closes.
Wait.
How do you know
Wait, why do you know that?
I saw a news article about a bunch of people who so the Chuck E. Cheese was closing, and the employees had to destroy the Chuck E. Cheese suit so that way the kids can't find the suit and like know that Chuck E. Cheese isn't real.
It's a
or
safe
Chuck
Man, they're hardcore with keeping the magic.
And some employees destroyed it while the place was still open, and they all got fired.
Okay. An example of, back to that furry Twitter thing. I think a good introduction to furry Twitter would be the breaking the magic joke.
Woo!
Okay? So somebody made a comment that, like, it's just perpetuated into it. You want to do this?
Hold on.
You go.
No, we're gonna do this together. Okay. So I'm gonna be the person who made the comment. I am a professional fursuiter. Okay, I've been suiting for like a million years, and like I've been to like a million cons. Just saying, you should never break the magic.
But it's really hot, and I like need to take off my head for a second so that I can cool off.
Then perish.
So essentially, that is the meme that is perpetuated. There's, there's like two camps. There's like, okay, magic doesn't matter, and then like, oh, we can't break the magic. Like it's
So
just
breaking the magic is taking the head off?
breaking the magic is taking any part of the suit off that makes it incomplete.
Or just talking in suit. If
Or
it
that
breaks
too.
the illusion that you are not like a full animal, and I mentioned this in the context of like interacting with kids in particular. If you are a giant animal and you are interacting with children or anyone under the age of 12, they don't recognize that it's a human in the costume. They think it's a giant animal, so do not break that illusion. If you do, then you're going to ruin their day because they think, oh god, it's actually a human. And I've seen like children like break down crying because they had the magic broken for them. It is like serious. It really is. It's like learning that Santa Claus ain't real, pretty much. It's
Oh my god, Santa isn't real?
Santa Claus is sorry. Time for you to learn. Anyways, yeah.
So like for me, it really depends. Like around kids, I love kids. I don't want any. Like I like kids as long as I can return them. So you know, I can return them, it's fine. But I like to entertain kids. I really do generally like seeing people smile. So around non-furry cons like this one, I might not break the magic. If I'm out like about in public, I really try not to. But like if I'm tired, I'm just go to my room or like find a place to like cool off, because at the end of the day, my health is important, right? And if you know I pass out, if you pass out in suit and like the ambulance comes, they're gonna cut it. Yeah, they will do that. Also, like if I pass out, then you guys don't see Onyx anymore, now do you? So, yeah. I'm not gone, I'm right here.
Don't you leave Jordan.
Oh.
Space bear with hair.
What's up?
I'm from space, I'm immortal.
Also, if you pass out, that'll really break the magic.
Yeah, that's
Dead animal is not fun. Like, you see their faces and they're like, ah, but no, they're dead. It's really bad.
It is so bad, but like, yeah, I'm one of those people who, if I'm in a FurryCon, like, I'll probably go, boy, hard enough till my paw slips off my hand, which I almost did. Oops. But like, I'll do that type of stuff because I don't care.
It really depends on your audience. It's just like cosplaying too. If you're in a costume, if you're not in like human form is showing or something like that, it's part of the character. You're not going to be like dressed up as Captain Marvel or something, entertain some kids and be like, hey, you want to go smoke some weed? No, you're not going to do stuff like that. It's the same thing. You got to know your audience and who you're talking to. If you go to a FurCon, people talk in suit all the time because they're just talking to other furries. It's not. There is no magic to really be made there because there is no magic like that they see. It's just someone in a costume.
Question?
Yeah, is there a furry policy in like Disney World or anything like that?
Fun fact, I have no idea, but I actually want to take a trip to my
Right. No, you cannot bring costumes in there because like you will probably like distract the actual kids who are there for the Disney World and they will think that you're part of the park.
Yeah,
there are actual rules against this.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's wild, dog. Wait, so
You dress up as Disney characters.
I mean like fursuits. You cannot wear like external costumes to these things, especially like fursuits. They will not make them.
The Zootopia people wouldn't be happy. We don't want to upset Zootopia. Wait, opinions on Mickey Mouse?
Oh, opinions on Zootopia as a furry. Yes.
Okay,
that's what I was wondering.
Everybody in this room that is a furry has a very vehement response to this. It's a good response. Vehement just means like a big response. Yeah, not a negative
fancy
one.
word. I like that.
Sorry.
That's nice.
I mean, honestly,
Sorry.
the Zootopia is kind of like the Lion King and Pokemon and Sonic. There have been different waves of furries who joined the fandom because of some large catalyst, like the Lion King movie, Disney, what's it else? I don't know, Zootopia, Sonic, Pokemon.
We're all furries
joined the
because of
fandom
Disney.
because of these things.
Really though?
So, that's like the most recent wave, and I do expect that there will be a wave of cats.
Everybody
furries
just
too.
really.
I absolutely love the Jungle Book.
The Jungle Book is amazing. For me, it's the Jungle Book and also like Zootopia was just like the reawakening. Anyway. What's up? Chuck E. Cheese.
What?
Sorry.
The cat return by Jim Wick. What?
Cat returns.
The cat returns?
Oh, that's
I have
happening?
no idea what the heck you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, you just ruined the magic? No, I'm joking. What is our time?
It's 8:58.
Wow, really? Almost.
We can stay past.
Yeah, we can stay past time, but like I know all of y'all have lives and don't have time to like listen to a bear talk all day or all night. So
we can have conversations on this.
Yeah. Be here.
Well, we are going to stay here for a little bit longer. If any of you have to go, please don't feel compelled to stay.
Yeah, you can like eat.
Just yo.
You wanna come up here? Take a seat.
Oh wait, anime speed dating is coming up.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anime speed dating.
Yeah, you gotta go?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
Wait. We're squatting up. Anime speed dating, let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this speed dating now. Thanks for coming, love you guys, and I'll be here.
Wait, we're actually ending the panel?
Dude,